Big Bang stans live in the past and refuse to accept that newer groups are better. G-Dragon carried the group both musically and stylistically. Seungri's scandal permanently stained the group's legacy, and some fans still try to downplay it. Without YG's marketing, Big Bang's popularity wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. Some of their early songs sound outdated and wouldn't hold up today. VIPs act like Big Bang never lip-synced when they clearly have. T.O.P's deep voice made him stand out, but his actual rap skills were never that impressive. Taeyang's solo career only took off because of his R&B vibe, not because he was an exceptional singer. Daesung was always underrated, but he was also the least impactful member in terms of influence. They relied on party anthems too much, making their discography feel repetitive at times. Big Bang's impact is undeniable, but their controversies overshadow their achievements. Bang 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 is overplayed, overrated, and not even their best song. G-Dragon is a great producer, but not every song he made was a masterpiece. Taeyang is vocally strong, but his stage presence has always been weak. Some VIPs refuse to admit that Big Bang's peak is long gone. Big Bang's style was groundbreaking, but a lot of it was just expensive fashion hype. They thrived in an era where competition was low, but they wouldn't dominate in today's K-pop scene. Big Bang's scandals prove that talent doesn't excuse bad behavior. Without their rebellious bad boy image, their music wouldn't have stood out as much. Their military hiatus ruined their momentum and they never fully recovered. They didn't invent swag in K-pop, but they sure acted like they did. T.O.P's acting career was never that impressive, but fans hyped it up anyway. Some of their B-sides are better than their title tracks, but casual listeners ignore them. Big Bang is legendary, but calling them the kings of K-pop is pushing it. G-Dragon's solo music is hit or miss, but fans refuse to admit when he releases a flop. Loser was one of their only emotional songs that actually hit deep. Daesung's variety show personality was more memorable than his music contributions. VIPs act like Big Bang's scandals never happened while attacking other groups for less. YG gave them excessive freedom and sometimes it led to messy music. Some of their music videos are more memorable than the songs themselves. Big Bang had longevity, but their music hasn't aged well compared to other second-gen groups. The industry moved on from them, but VIPs are still stuck in the past. If they debuted today, they wouldn't survive with their level of vocal skills. Many of their older songs sound the same, but, nostalgia blinds fans from admitting it. Haru Haru is their best song, and honestly nothing they released after it had the same emotional impact. Seungri's scandal should have ended the group completely, but, well, YG still tried to milk them. T.O.P's lack of interest in K-pop is obvious, but VIPs pretend he's just misunderstood. Taeyang is the only one who still fits into the modern K-pop scene. G-Dragon's influence is massive, but not every idol needs to copy him. No matter how much VIPs deny it, Big Bang's reign is official. Seungri permanently ruined Big Bang's legacy, and the rest of the members did little to distance themselves from him. YG protected Big Bang so much that they got away with things that would have ended any other group. G-Dragon is not a musical genius, he just knows how to recycle trends and sell them as innovation. Top only stayed in the group because of his deep voice and visuals. His rapping was never that great. If Big Bang debuted today, they wouldn't even survive a survival show. VIPs act like Big Bang was untouchable, but they were just the best of a weaker generation. Taeyang is the only one who tried to evolve musically, but even that wasn't enough to stay relevant. Their stage presence is hyped up, but a lot of their performances relied on flashy lights and screaming. Some of their most iconic songs are actually the weakest in terms of musicality. Fantastic Baby is the most overrated K-pop song of all time. Their bad boy image was just an excuse for reckless behavior and fans ate it up. T.O.P's scandals were conveniently ignored because he was artistic and misunderstood. Seungri's downfall wasn't shocking. He always had a shady vibe and people ignored the red flags. If another group had the same level of scandals, their fandom would have burned them alive. Daesung was never taken seriously as an idol and YG barely promoted him. Big Bang was marketed as authentic, but most of their image was carefully manufactured. Their music is only seen as legendary because of nostalgia, not because it's actually the best. G-Dragon's influence is undeniable, but calling him a top-tier rapper is a joke. YG prioritized Big Bang's individual brands over their group dynamic, and it shows. Their comebacks after their peak felt more like obligations than actual passion projects. The industry moved on from Big Bang, but VIPs refused to let go. Still, Life was one of the most underwhelming comebacks from a legendary group. Their fans constantly bash newer groups, but most of them haven't cared about Big Bang's music in years. They got away with barely promoting, yet their fans still act superior to other fandoms. The only reason Big Bang lasted so long was because YG knew how to build mystique around them. They were never good dancers, but fans pretend that wasn't a weakness. Some of their songs are straight-up noise, but nostalgia blinds people from admitting it. G-Dragon's fashion sense isn't revolutionary, it's just expensive and weird. VIPs always claim they don't stream, but that's just an excuse for their declining relevance. Without their scandals, they would have been celebrated way more, but they ruined their own reputation. Some of their collabs felt forced, like they were chasing trends instead of setting them. Top always acted like he was above K-pop, even though it made him rich. Taeyang's music was the most digestible, but even then he never reached true global solo status. The group stopped feeling like a real team after Made and just became a collection of soloists. Their fandom refuses to acknowledge that Big Bang's prime ended years ago. Some of their lyrics aged terribly, but fans pretend not to notice. The group's success made YG lazy and dependent on their name alone. Without YG's marketing machine, Big Bang wouldn't have had the same cultural impact. VIPs always say quality over quantity, but some of their songs feel rushed and generic. Big Bang stans clown other fandoms for drama, but their own group is the blueprint for messiness. Seungri was the weakest member talent-wise, but fans hyped him up because he was funny. Big Bang took too long between comebacks, which killed their momentum. Their later music sounded like it was trying too hard to be deep, but lacked substance. Some of their fashion trends were straight-up ugly, but they were called artistic because of their status. VIPs act like they're superior to younger fandoms, but they're just bitter that K-pop moved on. YG protected them more than any other group in history, and it was unfair to the industry. Lies was a cultural reset, but everything after that just followed the same formula. They depended too much on their past success instead of evolving like other second-gen groups. If another group copied Big Bang's formula today, they'd be clowned for being outdated. Their Japanese releases were often better than their Korean ones, but most fans ignored them. The industry has outgrown the bad boy K-pop concept that Big Bang pioneered. G-Dragon is talented, but his arrogance makes him insufferable. Bang 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 is just a glorified football anthem at this point. YG's privilege let them get away with scandals that would have ended other careers. Some of their music lacks replay value, but VIPs will never admit it. They have one of the most toxic fandoms, but nobody calls them out because their later music became more about aesthetics than actual substance. T.O.P.'s public meltdowns were treated as deep instead of just unprofessional. They didn't set the trend for everything, but their fans pretend they did. VIPs are still waiting for another comeback, but at this point it's never happening. If they tried to enter the US market today, they wouldn't stand a chance. Big Bang's scandals overshadowed their impact, and that's their own fault. The only reason people still talk about them is because of nostalgia, not relevance. G-Dragon's solo career peaked with Coup d'etat and never reached that level again. Their lack of public engagement made them feel out of touch with fans. If they weren't from YG, they wouldn't have lasted as long as they did. They acted untouchable for years, but karma finally caught up to them. Their Japanese concerts had more energy than their Korean ones, but VIPs ignore that. Daesung was a great singer, but he was never treated like a true vocal powerhouse. Made was their last good album, and everything after felt forced. Their scandals proved that idols aren't immune to real-world consequences. They rode on YG's YG family brand instead of building genuine industry connections. Their music videos often carried the songs more than the songs themselves. Without their rebellious image, they wouldn't have stood out much. They peaked early and couldn't maintain the same level of dominance. If You is their best song and everything after tried to replicate that emotional appeal. Their hype died down way before Seungri's scandal that just sped things up. They wouldn't survive in today's cancel culture, and that's why YG keeps them hidden. Their English lyrics are some of the worst in K-pop, but no one calls them out for it. I hate Big Bang, can you tell? Alright, bye peasants.